What's up, y'all? Happy Thursday. One more day to Friday. The week's almost over. Welcome to the Left Fresh podcast. Thank you all for jumping on. Just going live for tonight. Just talk a little bit some sports. Push the episode back to Thursday, as Wednesday was the conclusion of the NBA draft. So I'll let everybody watch the second round. I think the second round is underrated. I'm gonna get into that in a little bit later. But if you're on for the first time, just hit the subscribe button. Hit like, subscribe, share, comment, leave engagement, share, tell a friend. Everything's going down over here. It's Left Fresh Podcast, indeed. You can find me on Instagram at This Is Left Fresh. You can find me on TikTok at This Is Left Fresh. Got a good episode lined up for you all. I'm going to discuss like I said, the NBA draft. Got a good bit of trades to talk about in the NBA. It's a busy NBA offseason. NBA cooking right now. Like I said, I got the offseason stuff, the trades that went down, the signings and extensions. It's getting ready to build up towards July 1st. I can only imagine it probably cooking up a little bit more. A lot of people writing off a lot of these trades, and it's like, in an era of parity, you know, flawed teams. But like I said, I'm gonna push into that in a little second. But I'm gonna warm things up a little bit with a quick little icebreaker topic. Win headlines today: Indiana Fever game. Um, yeah, Caitlin Clark and Indiana Fever went against Alyssa Thomas in Phoenix, and Caitlin Clark got roughed up. A couple of times. There was times she ended up on the floor. Alyssa Thomas. I watched the game, and it was like when it first happened, I didn't think anything of it. It was just like a little bang, bang, bang play, whatever. And then when you see the replay being replayed over and over again and everything like that, you can see like and then like the still image, that was really crazy optic as well. Alyssa Thomas arm just stretched out, just holding Caitlin. But I'm not laughing at anything like that. I'm glad Caitlin's all right. Hopefully she recovers and everything. She left the game early, but it was just like the way it was projected online versus when I seen it in real time. It was like, whoa, you know what I'm saying? So it was like, but the WNBA looked at it over again, and Alyssa Thomas was assessed a flagrant 2 and a 1-game suspension. Stephanie White, Indiana Fever head coach, went on a very passionate rant about it, discussing the physical play with Caitlin Clark. Seemed like it's continuing from last season. WNBA is physical. I'm not saying that you know these hits is right and everything. I mean, I think it was appropriate. It was appropriate. I mean, one game suspension is, it did look egregious once you actually see it. That big. What's up, man? Oh man. I mean, listen, the optic on that, like when I seen the actual like photo, it was like just in a still shot. It just made it look 10 times worse. So the optics, and everybody's like, oh man, poor Caitlin. It's like, oh, here's the thing. It was a rough play, but I think Caitlin will be fine. Like I think she's having a great season. I mean, objectively, she's what, fourth in the league in scoring, second in assists. I mean, 8 assists a game, 21 points a game. I mean, she's dealing with a lot of physical play. And, it's kind of affecting the durability a little bit. But at the end of the day, this is still growing. This is still a growing, thing for her. You know what I mean? She still has to grow, and that's part of just being able to take up the physical play. I mean, Jordan had to go through it, and kind of be like that. Yeah, I saw the video where she pushed it down, but it was over. Yeah, it was a still image that really got me, man. Caitlin Clark plays dirty like that. She's just tough. She's tough. She can handle it. And that's what I'm saying. 21 points a game, 8 assists. She's having a great season. I mean, individually, I don't, her productivity is like, I can't deny that. So I mean, the physical play and everything like that. I don't think it's going to break her. I mean, I think people were just like, hey, I think people looking at her like, hey, some presented like she's like face of the league, and you get beat up like that. Man, Mike got beat up. Jordan got beat up too. So I mean, and like I said, if you're still producing, putting up 21 points, 8 assists, I mean, it's just a dirty play. It happens, and it was fine. The suspension was handed down. I mean, flagrant was assessed, and the suspension was handed down. But yeah, I came across that one, and then like I said, if you all haven't seen Stephanie White, Indiana Fever's head coach, look it up. You can look up her rant during the post game interview where she kind of just went off about how Caitlin is just being roughed up. Because there was another instance, it was kind of a dangerous play, Caitlin coming down on somebody's foot, and that could lead to a sprain or anything like that. So I mean, that's a pretty understandable thing to be upset about, if anything. I mean, I remember when Victor put his long foot out and Jalen Brunson fell on his foot. He stuck it out, and Jalen Brunson fell on his foot, landing in a landing area, and almost sprained his ankle. I'm like, I'm glad that didn't lead to like a serious injury with Jalen. We was able to still finish the deal and close the deal. But yeah, I mean, those are instances like that. Those are kind of dangerous plays, so they got to be assessed too. So I thought that would have been if anything. But yeah, Lisa Thomas suspended and assess the flavor for choking out Caitlin Clark, apparently. But yeah, I highlight what I pushed the live back for NBA draft. Um, I've always said it's my favorite time of the year. I like seeing young prospects go on to the next phase of their career, go to the big pros, and see which one, we see how their paths and the trajectories end up, and just the estimations, and see all the scouting reports and everything they say, and how it ended up playing out, how their careers playing out. So I mean, I've kind of watched every NBA draft since about 1996. I was 11, and I can honestly honestly say I have never missed the NBA draft. Like that's just one of the things I do. Um, so 2 days went. I'm used to a 1 day draft. The old days they had many rounds. I always kind of came up under the 2 round draft anyway. But seeing 2 rounds go for 2 days is still kind of new to me. That's why I pushed the live back. I was like, I'll do it tomorrow. But yeah, it was a good draft though. I think this draft is, like I said, going to be loaded. Um, Generational picks, however subjective what people consider a generational talent or once in an era. Do I see a Wemby, a LeBron type of player in this draft? Possibly, maybe. But I do see a deep draft with possibly several Hall of Famers in it. I like how this draft wasn't so predictable like the Wemby draft. This one was good. Exactly. And it had depth. To me, I feel like with NIL, you got players that are a little more mature to go in with the one and done. You there was years where you've seen like the top tier one and done player, and a bunch of other one and dones was like 4 years away. Now you're seeing the one and dones that are ahead of the pack and they can go ready right now. And you're seeing upperclassmen that stayed in school 2, 3, 4 years even and ready to go to the NBA is like a 22, 23-year-old that's ready to contribute right away. Even though if the ceiling isn't necessarily high enough, you got somebody that you don't have to wait on either. So it kind of evens out. And I think that, this draft overall had a good variety. I like the tone of this draft was like, it started off like pretty small, like at the top, like a lot of smaller positions, the guards, a couple wings maybe, and then it was like, the NBA is getting geared towards a more physical size league. So like the center position is like a premium. Everybody needs a center right now, and the centers became later on in the draft. And I'm saying to myself, a lot of these centers, a couple of those centers could be sleeper picks and actually develop a little bit better than expected, especially later on in the later rounds. I'm gonna get into the results, and I'm gonna start off with the first round, of course. And I got a draft grade from CBS analyst as well about how he thought the draft went. I'm gonna give you my reaction to it or my own personal grade for some of these picks. You look at the round one, you see AJ DeBansa with number one. I figured that Darren Peterson, I didn't know Utah was actually going to pick him. I felt that it could have still, but I didn't think that he would interview with them or anything like that. But he ended up doing such, and they liked him and they're going with him. I think he's a good pick still. It's too early to call him injury prone, even though the injuries are a concern. People are kind of trying to label him like a low management type of guy. And my thing is, I'm gonna withhold my judgment until he gets to the pros because it's still a little fuzzy. I can't deem him like, I think a lot of people are kind of thinking of character like a Ben Simmons or something of that nature. And I think that's a little too rushed. You know what I mean? So I think, I'm not gonna pass any judgment on Darren Peterson as far as character wise, but I think, you know, he could have been a number one pick. He could have went either way. The Benson and Peterson. But I think really the deciding factor is not so much, Darren Peterson, anything character wise too, but AJ DeBance is larger, is taller. I mean, I know Darren Peterson actually had the better of them head to head, even coming up. But a lot of people got to get out of high school and the AAU level and think like, okay, they can develop to completely different pros. So I mean, I'm not going to go off their head to head matchups, but I think AJ DeBance still has an upside that can possibly be the highest in the draft, and I think that's what Washington went with. He's gonna fit in right in at the wing spot. I mean, the Washington Wizards were atrocious last year, but they had a really, really young team, and he kind of fits in perfectly at a small forward for them at the position he plays. Um, Trey Young, I'm gonna get to his extension in a minute, but Trey Young, Trey Johnson, AJ DeBensa, Alexander Sarr. Uh, Not sure what their power forward situation is looking like, but they got Keyshawn George as well, another wing. But yeah, it's a very young team. The record was pretty bad, still learning how to win. They just got Trey Young mid-season at the trade deadline. Trey Young was still hurt most of the season as well. So, it's going to be interesting to see how a whole offseason goes. Trey Young come back healthy with this young team around him. And a lot of people are trying to predict the ceiling for them, and it's like, still a little. That team is a little young. And I remember when Trey Young was in Atlanta, trying to carry that team. And I think this is kind of like, the first year. Oh, I didn't forget who the power forward was. Anthony Davis. I don't think Anthony Davis may still be a Wizard. I think there's still going to be moves being done. July is another month. But if AD starts the season as a Wizard, I'll be surprised. I mean, the Wizards still have the cap room to keep him, of course. That's why they acquired him. But I don't think AD really wants to be there, or they want to keep AD. He's pretty injury prone, but ideally, AD, Trey Young, both healthy. Young Wizards squad around him. AJ DeBance. It doesn't have to be if AD is healthy and Trey Young is healthy and they're both producing. He wouldn't necessarily have to be a first option, a number one option. However, if they are healthy as well, that can hurt his rookie of the year chances from his individual production because Trey Young's going to need the ball. AD's the veteran, and they're not going to just feed AJ DeBance when you got veterans that's already proven there. So that's an interesting dynamic of how that works out. However, if AD pretty much gets hurt again, and if Trey Young gets hurt again or whatever, I mean, they're going to be relying a lot more on AJ DeBance as well. So, I mean, this is a good chance for him to still definitely going to start. I mean, I don't think he's going to have to sit. This isn't the NFL or anything like a quarterback sitting, anything like that for a year. That doesn't make sense in the NBA. You draft number one on a team this bad, he got to come in right away, especially when you got, established stars in place if they're healthy. And AJ DeBance can just kind of just float within the system. But like I said, that can fall against his individual numbers versus rookies who are going to be in different situations as I make my way down the draft. Where you got Darren Peterson, who's going to be in Utah. This is another team looking to probably turn the corner and who may not need Darren Peterson to contribute on a high volume right away as well. Ace Bailey started turning the corner in the second half of the season. Not sure what kind of start he's going to get off to. He still got Keontae George, who hit another corner. Jaren Jackson acquired via trade. This is a good situation that Darren Peterson was drafted into. Danny Ainge, of course, stockpiling picks and cashing them in. A lot of people complain about the Jazz tanking, and it paid off. Oh, well, they got Darren Peterson. This is why you tank, if so. Walker Kessler, their center, rejected an offer. Not sure if he's going to re-sign or not, but they still got Lauri Markkanen, their other star. Maybe Jaren Jackson may have to move to the 5, make it pretty small. It's going to be tough for them, but Utah does have talent now on this roster. They're not just a depleted roster. That's like I said, another piece to the Jazz are just further along in the rebuilding process than the typical lottery team. And adding Darren Peterson to it should help them. If Darren Peterson can stay healthy, hopefully he can, change a little bit of that streak in college. Because when he did play, he did perform. And he can provide another guard for Keontae George and him and Ace Bailey. That can be an explosive offense if it lives up to its potential. So, yeah, good pick for Utah. Got to take the pick, got to pull the trigger on the talent. You got to take a risk a little bit. I mean, like I said, you already got talent in place. The expectation for Darren Peterson really doesn't have to be as high because, like I said, it can just be enough to help Utah get into the playoff picture. Number 3, Cameron Boozer from Duke, power forward, went to Memphis Grizzlies. Memphis Grizzlies have pretty much hit the reset button last year, except for Ja Morant. Ja Morant still lingering around. Wait for the trade deadline, even though it'd be interesting to see what type of trade value Ja Morant has. But I'll get to that later. Desmond Bain gone. Jaren Jackson Jr. gone. Starting over with Cameron Boozer, who should probably step in to replace Jaren Jackson Jr. A lot of criticism about Cameron Boozer's athleticism or lack thereof, and not the same athleticism and everything. But I think he's a pretty skilled player. Got good vision for his size. As a power forward, he can kind of see the floor pretty well. He's like a solid rebounder. I think he could be a very good player in the NBA. Like I said, I'm not sure if he's going to be like a superstar or a top 5 player in the league, anything like that. Sky's the limit, but realistically, a ceiling I can see for him is being an all-star level player. I think Cameron Boozer can be pretty good. Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to see what Aaron and AJ and Darren do in the NBA. Yeah, there's a lot of hype around them, a lot of hype, as well as the rest of these freshmen that came in the league. I mean, most of the top 10 were one and done. They were freshmen. They all had big scoring nights throughout the regular season in the NCAA. They kind of revitalized the NCAA. College basketball was exciting when these young players were coming in, putting up these 40-point nights, and saying they built a lot of anticipation for them. And here they are, getting ready to take that next step into the NBA and see how that talent translates. Number 4 pick, the Chicago Bulls went with Caleb Wilson, power forward from North Carolina. Missed the end of the season with a thumb injury. Seems to be back. This is another one like the Bensa. Sky's the limit for him. Many are saying he can be another Kevin Garnett, like ceiling. Slim, athletic build. Slim build. Can jump out the gym though. Very much athletic, very intense. Got a dog in him. Plays with intensity. Like I said, if you've seen him play in North Carolina, especially did good against Duke before he got hurt. This was a good pick for the Bulls to start over with. Like I said, at this position at number 4, going Caleb Wilson, and it's not like the Bulls are winning right away. All right, the Bulls are starting over. Now, Tiago Splitter, congratulations to Tiago Splitter, new hire by the Bulls. Coach for Portland last year that took them to the playoffs, now starting over with the Bulls. And you got a great player to start off with. Hopefully he lives up to the potential and stays healthy and everything like that. And you gotta step moving forward because Chicago is not a 1-year fix. It's a baby step league. So, another piece to the puzzle, first piece to the puzzle. Good luck to Caleb Wilson. Top 5, out the top 5. This is where it starts getting into the string of point guards that got picked. I knew these point guards would go exactly in this order. I mean, not exactly in this order. I'm sorry. I knew these point guards would be one by one like this. These point guards are really good. Some are pretty small. Two of them pretty tall. And one looked like he can be the next NBA superstar. Very much built a lot of hype. But the one that went first is point guard Keaton Wagler from Illinois. Freshman, had a big 40-point night as well. No knock against him, just didn't have him going 5th. But size played a big part in it. I think Keaton Wagler is a tall, like around 6'5", 6'6", plays point guard. And, that's a big sell in the NBA, especially with the Cade Cunninghams and the SGAs and the Lucas and everything like that. I know Jalen Brunson defied the odds as a little man, but that did not change the demand in the NBA draft as it is shown in these results. Mikael Brown Jr. Went number 6 to the Brooklyn Nets. He's going to be added to the picture with a new addition I'm going to get into later. I'm going to get into talking about later. Michael Porter Jr. already there, who was traded from the Denver Nuggets after winning a ring. Had a big scoring season. So Mikael Brown Jr. joins them. Mikael Brown Jr. had some injuries at Louisville earlier this year. And that's kind of the concern I've had, especially in picking him over the next pick. Number 7, Darius Acuff Jr. Darius Acuff Jr. was projected to be a top 5 pick at some point, and people even were saying he should have been in the top 3. Some people were saying they should have picked him over over Darren Peterson because Darren Peterson didn't play and Darius Acuff does. Darius Acuff played with an ankle brace and dropped 49 points. So Darius Acuff is big time. Everybody loves watching Darius Acuff play. He plays with heart, plays with tenacity. He has a closing ability. He's clutch. Um, all the comparisons people can come with. I mean, I've seen comps to Allen Iverson, which I disagree with. I see comps to Kyrie Irving, which I disagree with. I get it. He's like a great scoring guard and has, all the point guard skills that go with it. He's actually a great passer as well. He's pretty efficient too. First of all, there was a time where 6'2" wasn't considered short. All right, 6'2" was a pretty average size point guard in the earlier years. I think in positionless basketball, when you got all of this versatility, you're calling for guys who are a lot taller, who can just switch and play different positions and everything now. So height has become more of a demand, but there are still exceptions in skill. And Darius Acuff can be very much that. There's still small guards that can ball. Like I said, 6'2". Darius Acuff is like not 6 even. He's not 5'11". And he's actually has a stocky build to him as well. He's a stocky physical build to him as well. So it's not like, Darius Acuff is just a shrimp out there. I mean, I get the fact that he may be a bit of a defensive liability. Well, draft defenders, because Darius Acuff can, he can light it up. And one of the things my comp for him was Stephon Marbury. Now, a lot of people kind of forget about Marbury a little bit because he faded due to, more or less kind of off the court things, more so than anything else, or just, clashes, with different front offices and all that stuff, that type of stuff. But absolute talent-wise, Marbury was nasty. Marbury had handles. Marbury could finish at the rim. Marbury can shoot. Marbury was athletic even. He was deceptively athletic. And he had the same kind of build. So I think Darius Acuff is more of a Stephon Marbury type of playing style. How the type of level he takes it to, that remains to be seen. I think he has a lot of potential, though. A lot of bright potential. The Atlanta Hawks went number 8 with Kingston Flemings, the last of the 4 point guards. Pretty small guard and a slight build. He's actually has a little bit of length to him, about 6'2", 6'3". But he's another explosive guard, though, man. He's very skilled, can get to the basket as well, can shoot pretty well, can finish. Another one who had another 40-point night, 40-plus point night in the regular season as well. Like I said, these freshmen were lighting it up. These 8 picks are pretty much as good as 8 picks I've seen in the past. I mean, right now, just looking at it, like when I looked at a draft results off the first look, these are about as good as 8 picks as I've seen in the last couple of years. Definitely better than 2024. 2025 wasn't that bad either, but yeah, this right here, a lot of potential in these 8 picks. Number 9, new coach Dustin May, hired from the University of Michigan after winning a national title to the Dallas Mavericks. His first pick is from his own school, Morez Johnson Jr., power forward, another big hypermotor, can get after it. Added to Derek Lively in that front court with Cooper Flagg. Number 10, Braden Berries from Arizona, shooting guard. He was another freshman. Put up some buckets for them. Remember the Arizona team was tough all season long. He was a very much a bright spot. He's going to the Bucks as part of the rebuild after the Giannis trade. Talking about that later. Number 11, Yaxel Lindenberg, the veteran on the Michigan squad, 23 years old, but like I said, ready to go right now. Not sure how high the ceiling is, but his athleticism is there. You can see the floor as well. Can contribute right away for Golden State, who definitely needed to hit on the draft pick. So, Jimmy Butler is still coming back from injury, about over 35 years old. This is an old Warriors team, and you got somebody that you can throw in right away. I think he can actually fit for Golden State better than Jonathan Kuminga. Kuminga, he had his own style of play, just didn't fit with Golden State. I think Yaxel Lindenberg can actually come in as a rookie and be a bright spot for Golden State. He can contribute in a way that Jordan Poole did during the good years. But number 12, another Michigan product, 7'3" center, Adai Mara went to OKC. And yeah, in a draft where bigs were needed, a team that's already in the top of the league and one of the best in the league, with a lottery pick, they used it on a position that really lot of teams can use a center. So Mara goes in there, could possibly fill a void for Isaiah Hartenstein, who could be leaving in free agency. And add another line, some more size with Chet Holmgren. Number 13, Nate Ament, the second Milwaukee Bucks pick acquired in a Giannis trade. Picked Nate Ament from Tennessee, 6'9", very versatile. I think he can go well with Braden Berries. Like I said, part of the Bucks rebuild project is under full swing with Tyler Herro and all the other parts I'm gonna talk about. But Hannes Steinbeck from Washington went number 14 to the Charlotte Hornets. Another team I will talk about later as well. But yeah, they added a big man as well. They needed a big. I mean, like I said, teams that are actually looking like they're going in a winning direction, going big. Dalen Swain from Texas went to the Chicago Bulls, the second pick along with Caleb Wilson. So, like I said, 2 picks for the Bulls to go into their rebuild. Bennett Sturts from Iowa went to OKC at number 16. I think OKC got them another shooter right there in the middle first round to add to a bench. They may have to say goodbye to Alex Caruso and a couple other parts. Look like they're gonna probably move right on with the younger crowd. Just keep the train going in OKC. Just keep building through the draft and sustaining through the draft. Buka Okori went to the Detroit Pistons. And that was a trade they got from Memphis. Christian Anderson from Texas Tech, point guard, underrated point guard. I talked about the 4 point guards that went number 5 through 8. Christian Anderson Jr. could be a good pick for them. He's replacing somebody I'm going to be talking about later in a second. Alan Graves from Stanford, power forward, a good stretch forward, going to he's a big stretch forward too, going to Toronto. Jaden Quaintance. This guy right here was injured most of the season for Kentucky, but he's a big dude, 6'9", 7-foot wingspan, almost a 7'5" wingspan. He can jump too. He's got hops. I mean, he's a freak athlete. I don't know if you all remember Nerlens Noel at Kentucky during his freshman year before he got hurt. That's kind of who he reminded me of, and he got hurt as well. But San Antonio taking a chance on him, add him in there with Wembanyama. Like I said, the teams know it's in demand, know who they are. OKC, San Antonio, racking up on bigs that everybody else need. Kareem Lopez went to the Memphis Grizzlies. That was also a trade that they got from Detroit. The Isaiah Stewart trade. He was traded. LeBaron Philin Jr. added point guard from Alabama, very talented point guard, added to Philadelphia with BJ Edgecombe and Tyrese Maxey. Wasn't. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What's going on, Herman? I wasn't familiar with Jaden Quaintance, so I wanted the Spurs to take Seneca at 20. After watching highlights and interviews, I'm glad they got him. Yeah, if he stays healthy and develops, that's a sleeper pick. Like I said, this guy was projected to go top 10. He was supposed to be top 10 at the start of the season. He was in a lot of NBA mock drafts earlier in the season, and he fell due to injury. So, I mean, if the injury is a false alarm and this guy stays healthy and he's the athlete that he is, I mean, he kind of reminds me of Jalen Duren, too. I mean, I know Jalen Duren had a rough postseason, I know. But as far as just raw athleticism and everything, that size and athleticism to a team that's already big and athletic, San Antonio, I mean, added size to an athletic guards and everything. Yeah, that's going to be tough. That's going to be tough. Tyrus Reed. Oh, sorry, skipped a few spots. Yeah, Zuby Ejiofor. Another pick for the Atlanta Hawks. Like I said, Atlanta did some good. I think Atlanta did some decent moves. They had to get Kingston Flemings to add to the backcourt with CJ McCollum, and I think they started addressing other needs. I think a lot of Hawks fans wanted a big going in at number 8, but I mean, there's some bigs at the bottom of the draft. They could be some sleepers as well. I mean, especially when you got the other positions covered, you just need a big to do a certain role, so you don't got to reach too high for a big. Yeah, if Queens comes back healthy, the Spurs defense is going to be problems. Yeah, because, I mean, it's tough enough to do anything with a defensive player of the year. And then you got this other monster. I mean, Victor played a lot of minutes in the finals. He played over 40-something minutes in the finals, and he's not used to that. He played 30 minutes. He was on minute restriction and everything, and that fatigue got to him, And when he's off the floor, that defense, it wasn't as good. But if you get Jaden Quaintance, and he turns out to be a decent rim protector. When Wemby sits down, at least a sustainable rim protector, yeah, that's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. The Lakers, team that everybody's looking out for, they took a trade from my Knicks and they got Cameron Carr, a guard who's pretty athletic to move. I think, Lakers can get some good use out of him. I don't know if Marcus Smart is coming back. They maybe have to roll on with the rookie. Sergio De Laderia. Pardon me if I butchered the pronunciation, but yeah, he was selected by the Dallas Mavericks, all added along with Morez Johnson. A couple teams got 2 picks, especially the ones that need to rebuild. I ain't mad at it. Tyrus Reed Jr. from Connecticut went to the Spurs. Another big for the Spurs. Jaden Quaitons and Tyrus Reed Jr. Tyrus Reed's a big dude, too. He's like another one. He's like about 6'9". He's not exactly 7 feet, but he's a big body. He's about a good 260, 270. That's a big dude. And he's upperclassman as well. So he's coming in. He's a grown man. Add another one added to the, everybody's saying Wemby got to gain weight. Well, if you keep adding these big boys to it, like Quaintance and Tyrus Reed, look like they added some more goons. I mean, the Spurs are really just look like they're just trying to power drive everybody, man. I mean, they look like they're trying to come back with a vengeance with these young guys. Boston picked up Chris Senick Jr. Yeah, Herman, there you go right there, man. He went to the Celtics. Celtics definitely needed that pick. The Brooklyn Nets selected Joshua Jefferson from Iowa State. Added him to Mikael Brown Jr. Joshua Jefferson has a pretty decent bag. I want to see how he develops it at the pro level. Like I said, he's a little more seasoned, but he's not a one and done. Alex Carbon from the Sacramento Kings got him via trade as well. Cleveland traded that pick down, and he's going to be added to Darius Acuff. And the last pick of the first round, you got Koa Pete from Arizona, picked by Phoenix. Phoenix needed a little more size, a little more depth in the front court. He's a good pick to add to Devin Booker to help Devin Booker out in the front court. I like that pick. I think that can be a decent pick. Moving on to the second round. Like I said, I'm not going to go too deep into the second round. I'm just going to give you a couple of people you should look out for. I think Isaiah Evans in Minnesota, you'd be a good addition to what I'll talk about in a second. From Duke, he fell to the second round. I think Minnesota can add him to the slew of guards they've just now acquired. I think Minnesota's going a different direction, a different pace, a different philosophy, changing the philosophy a little bit. I'm going to talk about it. Yeah, and then I think Tyler Nickel for my Knicks, good spot-up shooter. We need shooting. Can never have enough shooters. I like that pick. Emmanuel Sharp, he could be pretty decent as well. Yeah. Oh, looks like July 9th and through 19th, NBA Summer League in Vegas is going to be interesting. Yeah, it's going to be packed. Yeah. Summer League in Vegas, man. Somebody fly me out to Vegas so I can watch some of those games. I'm definitely going to be watching on the apps though. But yeah, I mean, the energy in there is going to be crazy because of all the hype and the anticipation. Jaden Bradley at number 50, I think. I think a lot of these players look like, players that, teams probably have a little bit concerns about, but also have a little bit of upside. I think, Jaden Bradley, he's a little bit, I believe, undersized as well at his position, but I think he has a good bit of skill that can actually translate as well. Going to be a sleeper. It's very important not to sleep on the second round anymore. In the wake of Nikola Jokic and Jalen Brunson and other second round success stories, let me know in the chat or in the comments who you think could be that sneaky guy, that guy that somebody might have hit on this pick without even knowing. Who could be a potential player to come up in this draft that really accentuate this draft? Because if you got some second round sleepers to go along with these lottery picks at the top of the draft, if they all pan out, yeah, this is definitely has potential to be a great draft. And I'm gonna switch over to the draft grades and see what teams were given by Adam Finkelstein of CBS.com. Got that. And AJ DeBansa got the Wizards an A grade. Utah also got an A. Memphis was given an A plus. That's kind of a like I said, I like Cameron Boozer. I'm not sure if superstar is the word, but I think he's definitely a good character player to have in a locker room. He's a second generation guy. His dad, got plenty of experience being around NBA players and grooming. So I think he can be a ready to go type of player in Memphis as well. Can help towards changing the culture there as well. And, moving forward. Eventually, they'll probably move on from John Morant. Um, I'll get into that later. Caleb Wilson got the Bulls at A grade. I'm not mad at that. The Clippers got a B plus grade for Keaton Wagler because I don't think Keaton Wagler is a bad pick. I think he's a good pick. Um, how high is the ceiling? That remains to be seen. Like I said, he's still very young. He's got the size. Is he a superstar type of level player, a top 5 pick? That remains to be seen. But at this pick, you really, it's not a bad pick. Mikael Brown Jr. got the Nets a B pick. And I had my concerns. Like I said, Mikael Brown Jr. has had some injury concerns. That's my biggest thing. He's got size as well. He's got some game. I still think Darius Acuff's a little more sharper. And I'm going to tell you this right now. This is something that we might revisit in NBA talk. If Darius Acuff does outdo the odds and become a top player in the league or one of the best point guards in the league, or if Mikael Brown doesn't quite pan out or can't stay healthy, the Nets can catch a lot of heat for this on top of the heat that the Nets normally catch. All right, the Nets, you drafted 5 picks in the first round last year. None of them made the rookie team. You got to hit with Mikael Brown Jr. All right, and Darius Acuff better not be who everybody expects him to be, or this is a blunder. Yeah, so B pick over A minus pick. That's kind of how I see it right now. Could be wrong. Willing to live with being wrong. Kingston Flemings, B plus. Good pick for the Hawks. Hawks needed this pick. Like I said, CJ McCollum signed back. He was good, before the Knicks plowed through them. CJ McCollum played pretty well. He was giving it to Brunson. I think he's still got a little bit of spurt, but you're gonna have to ration that out. So you're gonna need young Kingston Flemings on the floor, getting used to it, getting sea legs underneath him. And they're gonna be playing with Jalen Johnson anyway. So none of them have to be he doesn't have to be the star right away. That's the good thing about some of these picks is that, you're going to teams that may or may not have made the playoffs, but you're not guaranteed to start on a team that's starting over. I would say Cameron Boozer and Darius Acuff are probably the 2 picks, and Mikael Brown Jr. They got probably the most uphill climb starting out. Caleb Wilson as well too. Yeah. Matter of fact, 3, 4 Clippers. That'll be interesting to see what happens with Kawhi. I don't know if he's going back anyway. I don't know who the Clippers are going to pick. Yeah. But, the Hawks are a good situation because they're coming off a playoff win. I mean, they're coming off a playoff appearance. And this is really the Pelicans pick. So this was a good look for the Hawks. Morez Johnson Jr. got the Mavericks a C grade, C plus grade. I think he's a good energy guy. I just don't know if he is the co-star that Cooper Flag needs, or, because I don't know if Kyrie Irving's coming back, or what they're doing with Kyrie Irving. I mean, he's coming back. That's cool. He can back up Cooper Flag, but in this type of draft, I think more was looked for in this pick. So, and then Braden Berry's got the Bucks a B plus pick. I think that's a high value pick at number 10. Braden Berry's is a guy that can possibly be a very good scorer. He's got the size, like as far as the build, to take contact and finish at the basket, and he's got some shooting ability. So I think he can possibly, he's got a ceiling to work at towards being one of the better scorers in the NBA. So this was a really good pick for the Milwaukee Bucks at number 10, right at the top 10. And then Yaxel Lindenberg got the Warriors a B minus grade. I think the Warriors, Warriors are looking for probably the most win now part they can have because it's the oldest team. It's like the oldest team in the NBA. Steph, Draymond, Al Horford, Jimmy Butler, and then you add a 23-year-old. So I guess that kind of rubbed them the wrong way. But my thing is, if you need a win now pick, this is probably this is the best you can get at a number 11. So I'm gonna have to disagree with a B minus. I think this is a B plus pick for the Warriors case. Hopefully Yaxel works out. He's got, like I said, he's pretty athletic. He's got, like I said, I don't think the ceiling is that high, which is probably why his grade is so low. But Golden State is not going in a younger direction. So I mean, they needed somebody win now. I understand the pick fits Golden State. I mean, that is on brand for Golden State. So, but that's probably why they got a B minus because they're in the lottery. So, of course, OKC, champions from 2 years ago. Now that my Knicks are finally closed the deal. But OKC got an A minus. Um, that's so disheartening. No, I'm just playing. This is a great franchise. I can't hate on the front office. This is a great franchise, a great front office. Sam Presti. Of course, he's going to hit on a pick with a lottery pick on a team that won 60 plus games and has the MVP already on it. But OKC is shedding a lot of salary. They are approaching that second tax apron, so it's time to shed some of that salary and go young. So they needed to hit on these picks, and Sam Presti is the GM to do it. Nate Ament, a B plus pick for the Milwaukee Bucks. I mean, I can go higher. Basically, I think Nate Ament's a very versatile player, and added with Braden Burries and getting him at number 13, this was another good pick for the Bucks. Listen, Bucks did what they needed to do to move on from Giannis. They got the picks they needed, and it worked out just perfectly. Hans Steinbach got the Hornets a B grade. Dalen Swan got the Bulls a C grade. I mean, it didn't really jump at him, but Bennett Sturt's a B plus grade. OKC, yeah, we get it. OKC drafts well. B plus for Charlotte though. They added Christian Anderson Jr., and I think he's going to be a sleeper. And it's a good thing he did. Of course, the Spurs get an A minus for Jaden Quaintance because he can actually be one of the biggest steals in the draft. So so the Spurs and OKC, the two teams that were in the Western Conference Finals and were the favorites in the finals, of course, they're going to keep getting better. Good to know. LeBaron Fallon, B plus. I like that pick. Cameron Carr, B plus pick for the Lakers. Lakers need some more athleticism. I also like that pick as well. Cole Payton, like I said, A minus pick. That was a great pick for Phoenix. I think they might have got a good steal at the bottom of the first round right there. That was definitely a great pick. Um, like I said, we'll all find out, but I like that pick. Second round, like I said, you're looking across a couple of average picks. Like I said, I'm not sure if there's really a second round guy in here that can really defy the expectation to become a Jalen Brunson or Nikola Jokic, but they can be some serviceable players in this draft. Tyler Nickel, glad my Knicks got a good pick there. Nice solid pick. Definitely need shooting. And the last picks, the Hawks. The Hawks got Henry Visar, which got an A for this pick. Adam Finkelstein. When I seen that pick at 52, I said, all right, Hawks. So, yeah, patience. You got Kingston Flemings and wonder why you didn't get a big or anything like that. You got some other parts you can use as well. Hawks did good in this draft. B plus pick, yes, right. Ugonna Onyenso, big in Detroit, B plus pick. Definitely a good pick. But, yeah, definitely I kind of agree with the most part of these. But, there's a couple of these I disagree with, but I think this is overall a great draft. Like I said, a lot of solid picks in this draft, a lot of great picks in this draft, a lot of potential in this draft, a couple sleepers as well. And I'll stay tapped in to see how it turns out. But if you're all just jumping on, let me get you to subscribe, like, comment, share, tell a friend, tell a friend. It's the Left Fresh Podcast. You can find me on Instagram at This Is Left Fresh. You can find me on TikTok at This Is Left Fresh. Moving on, got the biggest news for the later on in the night. And not free agency, sorry. The offseason has picked up in full swing. We actually got some trades, some extensions that happened. Some of these extensions not surprising, probably just the amount. Some of these are pretty surprising, you'll see. But yeah, let's go ahead and just start off with something light. Yeah, definitely facts. Let's start off with a light transaction that happened. Minnesota sent Julius Randle in the number 28 pick in the draft. You already seen who went 28 to the Brooklyn Nets in a 3-team trade that sent Nick Claxton to the Chicago Bulls. So the Bulls got a center to go with Caleb, got a good rim protector to go with Caleb Wilson. And yeah, I like that. I mean, I kind of like that move now that the Bulls got Caleb Wilson. Nick Claxton, good solid rim protector. Julius Randle. Contract was expiring. I knew he kind of wasn't coming back. He was acquired via trade from the Knicks. Postseason wise, kind of struggled. It's kind of become a recurring theme with Julius Randle. And now he's going to a team that won't be worried about the playoffs or shouldn't be worried about the playoffs anytime soon. But yeah, he can go there. One thing I will say though, I'm not going to knock him completely. Shout out to Julius Randle because it was him that got the culture rebuilt in New York. It was him that got New York back in the play. It was him that was the one that took his talents to New York. Got RJ Barrett there, and they took the Knicks to the playoffs, fell short a couple years, and the Knicks eventually moved on. But it was him and Thibodeau. Salute your efforts for getting the culture back in New York that led to this winning path. While I got you here, Julius Randle, I appreciate you and your contributions, and I wish you the best of luck in your endeavors in the redheaded stepchild of New York sports basketball teams. On to the next trade. This one was a big one, kind of going in order of events. Big one, Giannis. After all the talk, after all of the offseason from last season, throughout the course of the regular season, the trade deadline drama, all the rejected trade offers from Golden State and all the other teams that threw it off at you, after rejecting the Boston Celtics offer that had Jaylen Brown on the table, they accepted Miami Heat's offer. And honestly, this was a pretty good haul. Because if you looked at the draft results, you see what Milwaukee did with them. Milwaukee got to like where they're going. Even if they're not winning anything this year, even if they're not making the playoffs this year, they could just continue to rebuild. Giannis and Bobby Portis go to the Miami Heat in exchange for Tyler Herro, Khalil Ware, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Kasparas Giaconis, 3 first-round picks, I believe in like 2031, 2033, 1 pick swap, and a second-round pick. If you're Milwaukee, you should be thanking your lucky stars that you held on to Giannis this long and still got this type of haul for him. Okay, typically holding on to a player lowers his trade value, but since this is still pretty much a top 5 player in the league, Miami's willing to make that deal to bring a big star back to Miami market. It's been a while since they had a big star. Jimmy Butler, respect to his efforts, not quite the LeBron type of star. I think Giannis is a little bit closer to that. Won a ring and a Finals MVP. Even though Jimmy Butler took Miami to 2 finals, I will give respect to Jimmy Butler for that. But yeah, Giannis is pretty much a global star at this point, a top 5 player in the league. So, picking up Giannis definitely was a big grab for Miami. They made a big move. They added him with Bam Adebayo, trying to bring back Norm Powell and having Andrew Wiggins and Davion Mitchell. I mean, they have pretty much the skeleton shift in place, seeing what the rest they can get on league minimum. Yeah, especially with injury concern. He praying to stay healthy. Yeah. That's the deal. Because one thing when you see this haul of players, you got to think about Giannis's contract. Giannis is almost set to make about $58 million a year. And more than that by the year. Probably due for an extension as well. I'm pretty sure he's going to sign an extension. That's a lot of money tied into a veteran player. And as you're seeing over the years, like with all these CBA collective bargaining agreement, with all the tax aprons, it's harder to retain talent, especially after winning a ring. When you got to give out those extensions and pay all the younger players or pay all the players that won you a ring, it's hard to keep those teams together. Milwaukee kind of went down that slide ever since Giannis won them a ring. Couldn't keep Middleton got his contract. Drew Holiday had his contract. The rest of the roster kind of eroded around him. They had to move on from Chris Middleton eventually. The injuries piled up on him. They made a desperate grab for Dame. Dame gets hurt and everything falls down, and then it eventually led to this path that took Giannis into Miami. So, once you give out the big extensions, the super max extensions, I mean, these players are worth it. At the same time, Jalen Brunson took a pay cut to get the parts around him that he needed. Plus, durability, is not a given in the NBA with all these injuries. You got Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown out there in Boston with 2 supermax contracts out there. I mean, cap restricting them from doing much of anything else. But yeah, that's the only way to really for Milwaukee to get better was to trade Giannis. And you see the haul of picks they got to start their rebuild. So yeah, trading Giannis was definitely the smart move. The next trade, this is a fun trade right here. This is going to be a fun trade. Okay. If you play 2K, you're going to pick the Minnesota Timberwolves. That's going to be your guilty pleasure. LaMelo Ball goes to the Minnesota Timberwolves in exchange and Josh Green as well. Not to diminish Josh Green. Josh Green and LaMelo Ball headed to Minnesota in exchange for Nas Reed, a 2033 first round pick, 3 first round swaps, and 3 second round picks. Oh man. Oh yeah, not Nas. Yeah, Nas was a solid 6 man off the bench, 6 man of the year. That necessary big man that was versatile, and he really added a different dynamic to Minnesota's physical front. But like I said earlier, I think Minnesota's going in a different direction. They went against Wemby. They had a couple injuries that went off. Yeah, I'm a Spurs fan first. Yeah, I hear that, man. Yeah, y'all got a good team, man. Respect to y'all. It was a good series. But yeah, Nas Reed, I mean, yeah, very talented player. And I think he's gonna make a great piece in Charlotte. And now they drafted Hans Steinbach from Washington, another 7 footer to go with him. Yeah, Charlotte's going bigger to add size with Con Kneppel and Brandon Miller because they had the floor spacing last year. They had the shooting, the scoring, and everything like that, but they had no big men for easy baskets either. You know what I mean? When the baskets got tough, they had to live and die on a three. With Nas Reed, who has a bag that can get to the basket a little bit. Yeah, yeah, man, exactly. Nas got a sweet game to him, man. You know what I mean? And like he get to add that bag with the shooting that Charlotte has. Brandon Miller, Con Kneppel, and now you got Nas Reed. You got an inside presence in there, and then you got a center in Hans Steinbach who can possibly develop as well. So Charlotte got a lot more balance with this trade, and then they ended up with a couple first round swaps as well. And they move on from LaMelo's contract. LaMelo had a big rookie extension, making about 30, 40, about 40 million a year. But the fun side, Timberwolves get the backcourt they looking for. Okay, Mike Conley Jr. very serviceable in the very back end of his career, but it's behind him now. Dillingham, the draft pick that Minnesota used with the trade from the Spurs 2 years ago, didn't quite pan out. Too small. They get LaMelo Ball, 6'7", great vision, can see the floor, can shoot from anywhere on the floor, can finish at the basket. Can he stay focused, keep the turnovers down, and be a little bit more efficient? Is the question. Shot 40% last year. No, not just averaging 40%. He shot 40%. That's highly inefficient. However, now he's with Ant-Man. He had shooters last year, and he still shot that bad. So maybe he got to tone down on the shot selection. Now that he's with Ant, maybe that can, play off of each other a little better, make each other better. But I mean, I'm not mad at Minnesota for making a move because they had to make a move. I didn't think there was too many takers for Rudy Gobert. 33 years old, harder to move, hard to get much for him. Moving Niles Reed in this got you LaMelo Ball. You gotta have to take it. Yeah, exactly. That's the question. See, that's a great question, man. And I was getting ready to get to that point because, like, you got Rudy Gobert there, and he's 33 years old. And he's your only size left now. You went from a big physical team to a small floor spacing, shooting team, and LaMelo Ball spacing the ball. They just went really small now. You know what I mean? Like now they went small with Rudy Gobert, who probably, is going to be just a lob threat. Maybe I don't even know if he's much of a lob threat at this point in his career. You know what I mean? But like I said, that contract is something that really nobody's trading for. $33 million a year for a 33-year-old. He had a couple of spurts, I guess, guarding Jokic in the first round, but that's I mean, his trade value didn't go up because of it. Nas Reed was the more popular piece they wanted, and they kind of had to part ways with it just to get the backcourt they need. I do think the Minnesota Timberwolves have a chance to be a very explosive offense, but taking away the size makes them flawed. See, in the world, we're in the NBA of parity, where like teams are as even as they ever are, and they got these restrictions and these tax aprons that keep teams from getting to like super team proportions, or just stacking superstars on top of each other. So now it's like you really have to compromise. You really have to give a little to get a little. You know what I mean? It's really give and take with trades now. It's really hard to finesse a trade now because even if you get a star, your roster, your depth is going to be so depleted that you're going to rely a lot on your star, and they can't afford to get hurt at this point. You know what I mean? And they have to be highly productive. They can't afford to decline either. Coaches in the NBA are going to have their hands full trying to get all these players to gel on and off the court in the roles they'll be playing. Yeah, this is a very young backcourt with LaMelo Ball and Ant-Man. Mind you, it's a fun fact, they were drafted together. Okay, they were drafted the same year. Ant-Man went number 1, LaMelo went number 3, and now they're teammates. And it says a lot when Charlotte is ready to move on from their franchise player who they drafted, at the same time they drafted Ant. They're ready to move on with Kobe White and um, Christian Anderson Jr. And just go with that. Just roll with depth. They're not, a lot of teams are like, listen, the superstar is cool, but and I hate to say Leon Rose put together a team basically considered spare parts. I mean, Brunson was ran off by Dallas. Cat ran out of Minnesota, traded from Minnesota. All of these different parts were just scattered around the league and then, collected by Leon Rose with the Knicks. And then they happened to get over the top and now win a ring because a lot of people didn't expect it, of course. And, they won without really drafting players or signing a big time free agent, just picking up spare parts. And I think a lot of teams are now starting to see the simplicity in getting just good players or just good role players, at least players that can just play their part. And this right now, what I'm seeing now, like even with the stars trades, yeah, you're putting stars together, but they're still flawed teams to where it doesn't put anybody head and shoulders over the other. It just gives a team a chance to compete. You know, just like you can be a 6 seed like Indiana was last year and make it all the way to the NBA Finals. You're just really just putting enough in place to compete because you're never going to have enough to where you just have a stacked team unless you're just stockpiling draft picks and you're hitting on those picks and then they just magic, they all start developing together kind of like an OKC or a San Antonio. That's how they built their teams through the draft. But getting players to trade in this day and age, right? In today's game, these are all pretty much like lateral moves. You know what I mean? So it's going to be interesting. And then with the signings that's happening right now and the extensions being passed around, yeah, it's been interesting in the offseason though. Because like I said, we don't have these figured out. We don't have this stuff figured out. As you can see how these playoffs has been turning out these last couple of years with all these different championships, teams winning, all these, no repeats. We really can't say that we got it figured out who's going to do what on a year-to-year basis anymore. And a team can get hot, a team can run into a team that's been full of injuries. So, I mean, you don't want to overreact to these moves. At the same time, you don't want to write off a lot of these moves either. So, yeah, let's get to the free agent signings, though. I mean, or not the free agent signings, the extensions per se. Um, Trae Young declined his player option in Washington just to sign that big extension. He's locked in 4 years, $212 million. Like I said, he joins AJ DeBansa and Anthony Davis for now. Alexander Sarr, him and AD could be the two veterans with a very, very, very young team. And, see if they're going to build with him. I mean, it's going to be hard to trade for AD's contract. I don't know if people thinking AD is going to go anywhere. It's going to be hard to trade for AD's contract. So AD, if I was you, I'd probably take a good tour around the monuments in DC because you might be there for a while. Yeah, signings have been crazy, right, Urban? It's been crazy. Everybody getting max nowadays. Yeah, and I mean that's that NBA deal, the network deal. 11 years, $76 billion. Contracts are not going down; they're going up. It is going to inflate. So yeah, it's getting very, very close to those $500 million contracts. But yeah, another good extension being handed out was Ayo Dosunmu. Had a good playoff before falling down to injury in Minnesota. He's brought back with the band with Ant-Man and LaMelo Ball and this new look Minnesota Timberwolves team. It should be interesting to add him to it and his scoring touch as well. So like I said, Minnesota's going a lot smaller, but also going a lot more explosive on offense too. Look like they're aiming for being one of the top scoring offenses there, especially with Ant-Man. Ant-Man gets doubled a lot. And Jaden McDaniels is still there too. He's a great defensive player, very versatile defender as well. And all these stretch fours out there, he can defend a couple of positions. He's 6'9". So they're going a little bit smaller, but a little more versatile, a little more speed, a little more, finally got some playmaking in there. Hopefully LaMelo can, kind of play within an offense and leave the and one ball alone. You're not just playing for rec ball or anything. You're not just playing for fun. I mean, you're actually on a team that was contending And Ant-Man got dog in him too. So it'll be interesting to see the dynamic, see how it rubs off on LaMelo, if they bring out the best in each other or if there's friction or not, or contrasting styles. It'll be interesting. But yeah, Ayo Dosunmu re-signed, 5 years, 112 million. Yeah, man, about 10, 20 years ago, that would have been absurd for Ayo Dosunmu. Okay, that contract would have been absurd for him. But now this is pretty much a normal third option role player contract now. Crazy. And then the other team that made the trade re-signed their guy, Kobe White. Looks like he's going to be the replacement for LaMelo Ball, along with Christian Anderson Jr. from the draft from Texas Tech. Kobe White signed a 3-year, $74 million deal. So yeah. Charlotte's saving a good bit of money. Charlotte's saving real good money. That's a good team-friendly deal that's a good premium. That's a good value contract of Kobe Williams. Kobe Williams could light it up too. He can get hot. He's not as consistent as probably as you like, but I mean, for that deal right there, you can get a lot of production out of that to go with Con Kneppel and Brandon Miller and everything. And then now Niles Reed. You know, these trades are pretty even because nobody's really getting better. They're just changing their look up, trying something else to see what works, which is like the essence. You know what I mean? Like, nobody's going to stack a team or just become a title contender off a trade anymore like that. Now you're just seeing if this look going to work and this way, this style, and this fit, if this fit works for us. But I say the most dramatic extension for last, of course, guy Austin Reeves. Extended to the Lakers, 4 years, $185 million contract to return to the LA Lakers. This was met with a pretty neutral response, to say the least. Came across a lot of skepticism about giving Austin Reeves this type of extension, bringing him back with Luka Doncic. A lot of people felt like the Lakers really was kind of backed into a wall. Like, what else was out there? What could we do? The indictments on Luka and Austin Reeves is a backcourt, not much defense. High scoring, but not a lot of defense. A lot of people still clamoring for the Lakers to get a big to replace Jackson Hayes and DeAndre Ayton. That hasn't been done yet. So Lakers fan base is definitely growing restless. And of course, the big question, the impending status of LeBron James. What's he doing? Is he extending? Is he Windhorse is talking about Cleveland would love to trade Jared Allen for LeBron James, but nobody's said anything about that. Just the idea that Cleveland wouldn't mind a sign and trading Jared Allen for LeBron. I don't think the Lakers would actually be entertained with, or I don't think Cleveland would be entertained with that. I got that mixed up. The Lakers can use a Jared Allen, and Wendy's reporting that Cleveland would probably do it, but I mean that's all speculation. But yeah, the Lakers had basically got backed into a corner because if you see this, Austin Reeves is offered $30 million a year by the Lakers. The Lakers did try to save money and offer less, but they had to close on a $46 million per year offer after the Pistons went after Austin Reeves to join Cade Cunningham out there, who can, obviously the Pistons could use some offense. So Pistons was ready to lure Austin Reeves away. LA caved, gave him the big extension. Yeah. I'm glad they did this. Analytics show Reeves and Luka are the better duo than any of them with LeBron. Yeah, I mean they got great. They can light it up on the offensive side, and they even show some strides when LeBron stepped back into a third option position, becoming more of a hustle guy, Swiss Army knife type of thing. That kind of worked in LA. The three were working in LA. They were winning at one point. Then they ran into OKC. And then that was kind of like when reality set in. Like, you just don't have a big. And that's pretty much the issue. Is like, re-signing Austin Reeves wasn't the biggest issue. Whatever happens with LeBron is not the biggest issue. The Lakers need a big. Okay? I mean, you're only going to get so far. They won a playoff series against Alperen Sengun, surprisingly. But, eventually the next round, you ran into Hartenstein, you ran into Holmgren. And I mean, you definitely ain't want none of Wemby. Even if you made it past OKC miraculously, you ain't want none of Wemby. And I think the Lakers, seriously, like I said, after a sweep, you got to get bigger. You got to get more talent on at the 5 position, even at the 4 position. You got to get some rim protection. there's no rim protection. DeAndre Ayton is not an elite shot blocker, and everybody's going to get past Reeves and Luka together. So yeah, I mean defensively they're like the slowest pace, and offensively they're the slowest pace, and they're pretty unathletic. The Lakers are, and they're not a great defensive team either, and that's just not going to get them very far in the West. Like I said, you might win a playoff series running it back, but that's pretty much gonna not go too very far without a bid. What do you think about a sign and trade for LeBron and Allen? That's what Brian Windhorst was reporting. That one of the sides in that scenario would love the idea of signing and trading LeBron to get Jared Allen. I mean, Jared Allen, a much needed big. And I'm gonna tell you this, Herman, too. Rumors are swirling that Evan Mobley, they may keep Jared Allen because Evan Mobley might be on the move for Jaylen Brown, who is still out there on the market right now as well. So, I mean, this is probably just going to pick up as the days go forward. Look for Jaylen Brown to be moved pretty soon. Like I said, Evan Mobley is rumored to be moved, even though he's locked in on a big contract. Um, Cleveland is dangerously over the second tax apron. So, I mean, I wouldn't be definitely happy. Something's definitely going to happen in Cleveland. They're over the tax apron. Definitely going to go down to Cleveland as well. This is going to be more moves to come. I wouldn't be surprised if the Hawks make another move as well, but that all remains to be seen, and I'm going to be excited and looking forward to that. But before I go, for the pro wrestling fans, I did the Monday Night Wars last week, and I came across a list today. Before I get off, I want everybody to kind of take a look, join in for some engagement if you're a wrestling fan or not. If you're a wrestling fan, you can drop something in the comments and everything before I go. Somebody made a list of a top 10 best like wrestlers. When I see this list in context, I'm thinking like real mat technicians, and not so much superstars or who filled up the most tickets and seats and everything, just actually who can actually wrestle in the ring, great workers. And I didn't have a problem with these names. All these names on here were great workers in the ring, great mat technicians. Lord Steven Regal, William Regal in WWE, great mat technician, great wrist lock, tough, knows how to sell a move, knows how to give those European uppercuts. Arn Anderson from the Four Horsemen, master of the spine buster. Definitely got to put him on there. Gave some great matches in the mid card level as well. Ultimo Dragon. Oh yeah, one of the great cruiserweights. Oh yeah, no problem, man. Yeah, I can have a problem talking some ball too. Yeah, what do I think about Kawhi possibly reuniting with Toronto or San Antonio? That's possible, but it's going to be tough for Toronto. I mean, I can see RJ Barrett getting moved. So, yeah, it's very possible. Scotty Barnes and Kawhi Leonard, it's going to be tough to get those contracts to line up because Scotty Barnes already got a nice rookie max extension as well. But, I mean, they're going to have to move some parts, but it's still possible. Toronto got some pretty good depth, not great depth, and I can see them making a move for a star. I'm not sure about the Spurs. I think the Spurs are just going to run it back with the band. I mean, that team is just very, very young, and they're only going to get better, especially Carter Bryant. Carter Bryant might be able to defend on a Kawhi Leonard level next season. Okay, the kid's 19 years old, and he's already physically a specimen, and he looks young in the face, but he's physically strong already. And the NBA offseason, working out in the offseason on the NBA level, yeah, Carter Bryant might be an elite defensive player next year, and Spurs might be better with that. But yeah, man, back to this top 10 wrestlers. Ultimo Dragon had some great matches with number 5, Rey Mysterio right there. Some of the great cruiserweight matches with Dean Malenko, another great mat technician, the man of 1,000 holds. All the OGs, you remember Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Remember that classic with Macho Man Randy Savage? Had some great matches in WCW as well. Of course, Flair and Stinger, no surprise. Booker T, great worker all the way to the very end of WCW. And then, of course, the late, great Eddie Guerrero, very unique style, high flyer, and great mat technician as well. But yeah, that's it for my time tonight. Now let me know how y'all feel about those WCW wrestlers in chat if you get ready to jump off. But let me know in the comments as well for the wrestling fans. But like I said, that's my time for tonight. I appreciate you all jumping on with me tonight. Had a great engagement. I appreciate you all. Can't appreciate you all enough. I'll say it again. I appreciate you all. But you can find me on Instagram at This Is Left Fresh. You can find me on TikTok at This Is Left Fresh as well. I'll be back Saturday doing hip hop on 10 o'clock. Oh, yeah, I got you, Herman. I was a WWF fan, so I don't know much about WCW. Would you have Goldberg on there? Not necessarily in a mat technician type of way. He wasn't really technically sound. Goldberg didn't really have a really in-depth move set, but he was a super powerful dude and really high impact. And his matches were like really short because they were squash matches. They had to present him like this, unstoppable monster type of dude, in a good guy way. But Goldberg was definitely one of the biggest draw in WCW history. All right, that undefeated streak kept WCW alive for a good minute during that Monday Night War. He was a very big part of the Monday Night War, especially during that time when Stone Cold was out. He was the parallel to his popularity in WCW. Like I said, winning the WCW title is probably one of the biggest moments in WCW history. So yeah, Goldberg definitely in a different list is probably the top 2 or 3 entertainers in WCW history. So yeah, definitely knowing where Goldberg lies on there is a big part of it. But yeah, definitely got Goldberg in consideration though. But yeah, you all tune in Saturday as well. I do hip hop special as well. Got some new albums to discuss. Got the 30th anniversary of Jay-Z's Reasonable Doubt, his first album, his revisited as a classic, and got other good hip hop news to talk about at 10 o'clock and on Saturday nights, Saturday Night Live hip hop episodes. Y'all check that out as well. Stay tapped in. I'm gonna keep reaching out to you all with more postings. Man, thank you for jumping on, Herman, man. I appreciate the dialogue, man. You were great, man. Definitely appreciate the points you made and the questions you asked, man. I definitely appreciate it, man. You have a great night, man. And everyone else is on. It's the Left Fresh Podcast. Be back at you Saturday and be back at you with more sports next week. Got some more, hopefully more signings and more trades to go about. But y'all stay up, man. Have a great weekend. And see you during the middle of the weekend. Y'all have a great night. Peace.